I think we will have to start with the personnel situation. I'll start with Matt Lowe, who I believe is going to need surgery similar, maybe the same as he had last season, ruled out for months at least. How big a blow is that to him, given what he's been through and got back to fitness and got back in the team to now be virtually back to square one?
It's a blow for him, it's a blow for the team as well. He's done really well when he's changed positions. Done really well, give everything. He's been struggling with this for a while. He was nearly in tears on Saturday after the game. So he's playing through the pain barrier, which he can't ask for much more from the players. It got to a point where it had to be addressed. It's getting addressed today as we speak. And we just wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can get back before the end of the season.
Psychologically, how tough is that going to be for him?
Well, I think because he's been through that same injury before, he knows that he can recover from it. And he'll have both sides of his body now, so 2 hips that will be functioning properly, so you might see a better version of Matt Lowe.
You also had to replace 3 players at Crewe, 3 experienced guys. What's the news on Keneally and Longello and Joe Pritchard?
We don't think Seamus will be out as long as what we first anticipated, possibly 3 or 4 weeks. Ros is going to see a specialist today. It looks like he might have to have an operation, very, very similar injury to Sean McComble's. And Joe Pritchard, really, is just cramping up. And it's a case of managing Joe and getting the maximum that we can get out of him over what's going to be a difficult Christmas period. But there's no actual injury with Joe.
You're well into double figures, aren't you, for absentees again? Is there any good news on any of that list that you were without for Crewe?
I think Sean Worley and Tommy Lee will be available. I think Calvin will be available as well. Some others are getting closer. The likes of Seb, Liam Isherwood, Toby. They're getting closer. Not too sure on Coley. But I mean, I'm talking about this now for the benefit of the fans, to give them an update. Really, you know, we can't be harping on about injuries. We can't be letting that be our primary focus. I've said this before this season, it's a wonderful opportunity for players to grab a chance to play in the first team. And players have gone on in the past to cement a place in the first team, having been presented an opportunity through injuries. So we're not going to use it as an excuse. We're not going to hide behind it. We're not going to focus on it. We've dealt with what we have to deal with. We've discussed it this morning, what we had to do. And then that gets parked now. And we've got a run now from Saturday of 4 games in 9 days. The first one is the vital one. We'll have to try and get through that before we think about anything else. Although that won't stop us looking at the opposition if we get a chance, i.e. Friday, we can get a chance to watch Barrow. But we've got to focus on the players who can play and get our own house in order and concentrate on what we can do on the pitch and not look for any excuses or start moaning and woe is me. We've got a great set of lads in there. Certainly got no problems fielding the team and a full bench. I'll never ever be one of them managers who says, look at us, we can only have 5 subs because we've got injuries or we haven't got a small squad. They've got youth team players. If ever we get to the stage where we can't field enough players, the youth players will be on the bench. And that'll always be the case while I'm here.
You asked after the Crewe game what the average age was of the team that finished. It was 21.2, I think. Does that make you proud in some ways that these young guys are getting the opportunity and going out there and pulling off, or almost pulling off, a historic win and ending up with a very creditable point?
I'm pleased with the attitude that they show. A lot of them have trained around the first team for a long time, so they know the standards that we require. They know the ethos of the team. They know what's accepted, what isn't accepted. They know the culture of the club. So playing for our first team isn't a shock to them. Some handle it better than others. And I think we've seen that over the years. But we've had some good success stories, and hopefully there'll be many more.
Do you feel like there are some kind of waiting to evolve, to come out there and announce their presence?
Waiting to pounce? Possibly. We see them a lot, so we know the ones that we think are ready. But you're never ever 100% till you see them in action. If you look in recent weeks, Alex Henderson has took to it like a duck to water. So people have got to try and emulate him.
Just in the forward areas, and I'm aware you don't want to use it as an excuse, particularly that main centre forward, how difficult is it without Andrews, who in himself isn't vastly experienced, without Adedoyin, who's played a fair few games for you now, to not have that more experienced focal point? It's not quite square pegs and round holes, but are you asking younger players of slightly different sort, to play up there at the moment?
Well, you'd have to adapt your style of play to suit the players that you've got. So, at this moment in time, Josh Wood has been standing in very well. He'd like more goals. Great to see him get on the score sheet on Saturday. You can never fault Josh's effort, and that's why he'll always be a crowd favourite. And a great lad as well. But just being a great lad doesn't mean you're going to be a great player. He has done well for us when he's been called upon. But there's other players who can play up there. Sean Worley can play up there, Jack Nolan can play up there, Tommy Lee can play up there, Joe Pritchard can play up there. So, and then we've got young Leslie and young Owen who can also play up there. Tricky can play up there. So we've got forwards. So it's not like crisis.
This weekend then, the first of these 4 games that you're talking about over the Christmas period, is it important to be back here? Is it important because you've got 2 away games kind of over the festive period, is it important to set the tone here with a home victory for this run of games?
I think I spoke about it last week. You don't want to be going into the Christmas period and each game ticking off that you haven't won. So, you want to try and get a win as soon as possible. Be a tough game, Walsall, we know that. And our fans can make the difference. They do. They're being brilliant with us. I hope they turn out in the numbers on Saturday. I know they'll be turning out in the numbers when they go to Barrow. That's for sure. And you get a buzz when our fans are in full flow. And they do make a difference. The players all say that. The players all pick up on it. And it's great when you can give them some kind of reward. The Savlon fans will probably go home disappointed on Saturday, but if they then take stock like we all have done, it's been a good performance on Saturday. So if you look at the work rate, I think the first and the absolute given every fan should have is that the players are going to work for them. It doesn't always happen. Very rarely does it happen, I reckon. So I don't think players should be praised for working hard. I think that should be mandatory. But it's nice to see when a lot of them work hard together.
Is it one of those situations where you point at Crewe becomes a much better point if you beat Walsall at home?
It always does, doesn't it? The win is everything. We know that we've got the capability to beat any team in this league. We're not scared of any team in this league. Young lads often suffer from lack of consistency. That's something that we have to overcome. And we have to try and keep playing to our very, very max for as long as we can in every game.
Walsall on a decent little run, aren't they? I think they've conceded 1 goal in the last 4 games, won the last 3 in all competitions. What kind of a proposition are there? And we've talked about the attacking. How difficult is it going to be to score goals against them?
You have a habit of it maybe a stat that unsettles me, don't you? Yeah, but I've watched them. I've watched videos and obviously I know what they're about. I know how they play. And teams get on runs. We've been on one before this season already. Teams get on runs. It's up to other teams to try and knock them out of them runs. There's no guarantees in football. A bounce of a ball here or there can alter the course of a game. We've just got to focus on what we can do and focus on ourselves, pay attention to the opposition, do the due diligence that we always do, but then try and get our style of football a bit better. And I think over the last 6-7 weeks, you can see a marked improvement in our style of play. I think the players are understanding it a bit more. I think our build-up is better. We're making more chances. Again, if you go back to Saturday, so a lot of people are having a lot of stock, or putting a lot of stock in this expected goals value. And we were slightly behind Stockport, who won 8-0. And streets ahead of everybody else in the division. As we were the Tuesday when we lost 4-3 to Swindon, we were streets ahead of everybody in the division. So we are making chances, we are looking like scoring. And if you're looking like scoring every week, you've got a chance of winning games.
You talk about runs there. I saw this week, I think it was from the start of October, there's only 4 teams in this division have taken more points than you. Although the last couple of weeks maybe have been a little bit frustrating, if we look at a slightly bigger picture, is that heartening?
That's great the way you can just flip it again and give me a pleasing stat. The big stat will be at the end of the season, won't it? Desperate to get to them 50 points. And then start looking at, can we make everyone's year and get to the hallowed turf of Wembley, preferably in the playoffs and win it.